everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us here on this special broadcast on Times Now, the Budget Roundtable, wherein we will focus on what is it that the industry is expecting Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to announce on 1st of February. It's going to be her 9th budget, and ahead of that budget presentation, two important announcements have been made. One, of course, is from the Prime Minister, wherein he spoke about how India is already on Reform Express. He gave the mantra of reform, perform and transform. And also, we had the economic survey coming out, which gives a sense of hope and optimism as far as the state of the economy is concerned. So amidst all of this, we get a sense that the focus is going to be on reforms, but what kind of reforms should the government be looking at? Let's discuss it with our guests who are joining us on this special show today. Chandrajit Banerjee, DG CII, is live with us. R. Mukundan, President Designate CII. He's also MD and CEO Tata Chemicals Limited. We also have with us Piruz Khambata, who's Chairman CII National Committee on Taxation, and CMD Rasna International. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us here on Times Now. Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, to you first. You know, two important statements. One, of course, what the Prime Minister had to say, and the details we got in the economic survey. You know, both give us a sense of what can be expected. What is your assessment? In your opinion, what do you expect now on 1st of February? Which direction are we headed?
The direction in which we are headed, and I feel that we have been on that course for some time, is keeping to our strong economic fundamentals. And our the economic survey strongly talks about the strength of our economic fundamentals. It talks about how our macroeconomy is in good shape. It really also talks about how we have been able to be very disciplined in terms of be it fiscal, be it in terms of debt to GDP ratio, in terms of the way we have been able to handle inflation, so to say. All of it, I think, has been a marvelous story, and keeping a growth estimate of 6.8 to 7.2 is a story which has been a result of the type of reforms which our Honorable Prime Minister alluded to in terms of the Reforms Express. So what do I see? I see the Reforms Express getting faster, and I see the Reform Express percolating down. The Reforms Express percolating down by incentivization to the states of India. The central government has done phenomenal reforms. There are quite a few more to do, though. But some states have really captured that, taking it forward. What I liked in the economic survey, of course, is the way the preface of the economic survey has been written. And very importantly, if you really look at the chapter 16 of the economic survey, it really talks about building strategic resilience and strategic indispensability. And it talks about the state, the private sector, and the citizens. So I think these are critical areas which, of course, our Honorable Prime Minister has always emphasized upon. And we look forward to the Honorable Finance Minister presenting a budget which will be a budget for all, given that we are going to maintain, as is being projected in the economic survey, 7+% growth in the years to come.
Okay, interesting, Mr. R. Mukundan. In a way, it's bhagidari that the government is also now seeking of everybody for us to become Viksit. In your opinion, what should be the focus of the Finance Minister going forward? Because, while the Eco Survey does talk about how India and India's growth prospects are really looking good, but we are also in a fragmented world where rule-based order is crumbling. There are a lot of external uncertainties as well. And Eco Survey does mention that we need to be cautious. We don't need to be pessimistic, but caution is going to be very important.
So, firstly, let me just say caution is important, but also I think what has been already highlighted, doing what is the right thing is very critical at this moment. I think we need to focus in a collaborative way, doing the right thing. And let me just start with a few examples. For example, the economic survey already highlights, the businesses depend on credit. the bank's asset quality is one of the best position what it can ever be in the long history I can see. So their ability to lend, put the credit to the system where it needs to get directed, I think is one of the big positive. The second element I think the economic survey already alludes to is making sure that the ease of doing business, because businesses need two things: predictability and how easy is it there to do the business. They want to unleash ease of doing business 2.0, which is something which we have been highlighting. I think there's a level of urgency there also being said that let it percolate down to states. And then if you add the digital layer, which it talks about, it's about speed of doing business, so that it's not just ease, also speed of doing business. The elements it also focuses India on not just following the usual trajectory, but actually it's breaking free. For example, on sustainability, for the first time, the survey has spoken about climate adaptation. And this is very critical. We've been highlighting this from the industry side, that for Indian agriculture, adaptation is critical. For our urban spaces, adaptation is critical. And it comes out with specific recommendations on that. And on top of that, this is not an issue about getting flustered by what's happening on the geopolitics, focusing on what we can fix. But to what end? I think the end is very clear. It is focused on skilling and development of people and also job creation. So it talks on one hand about job creation, but also health of the job creation. Do we have healthy workforce? How resilient is our workforce? Are we skilling the workforce? So all in all, a very balanced approach. Right. And I think what we have been highlighting to the government are only two things. Make the ease of doing business even more easy. And secondly, also focus on factor reforms in terms of land, in terms of power, in terms of logistics. And the power is a big issue in any case. If you look at the kind of reforms we need to do the next round, especially with the state electricity board, with the distributed discoms, which are on. So I think these are things hopefully the budget is able to sort of direct its focus on these elements, and economic survey does allude to all those elements.
Right. Okay, Mr. Khambata, now we are in a very interesting phase. RBI calls it the Goldilocks, or the rare Goldilocks phase. There's high growth, there's low inflation, but then there is another factor that the Eco survey really emphasized on, and that is investor reluctance. Investor reluctance to commit to India warrants examination. What do you make of this? Do you think this is an acknowledgement that has come from the government side that, this is an area that we must focus on, perhaps something that the budget will also be looking at?
So if you really say from one...
Definitely, I think investor sentiment...
Mr. Khambata.
The question... I think definitely the budget highlights that. When we talk of investments, I talk of two investors, Indian investors and foreign investors. I think foreign investors, what they require is they require clarity in terms of the taxes, the tax laws, the environment, and the ecosystem. And I think that is something they are really looking for.
Is lack of clarity in taxation the reason behind reluctance?
No, I'm just coming to it. So what I'm saying is that, for example, because I head the taxation committee of CII, we do a lot of work with this. So for example, they want that advanced ruling. So if they have a clear idea, they want to do this in India, they would definitely want that there is an authority like anywhere in the world. You ask a query and the answer comes in 15 days and you decide you want to go or not. You don't wait for 2 years. Otherwise, you set up a unit in Vietnam tomorrow. So I think, honestly speaking, for foreigners, what we require is more clarity, especially on aspects of taxation, regulations, how they should invest, where they should invest, and also alternate dispute resolution. Also, India should really ensure that once the law is already grasped by a certain sort of the judgments are given by courts, laws cannot be changed. They require more tax certainty. That's what I'm saying. Definitely, some states have done a very good job. For example, southern states, in terms of attracting foreign investments. And I think the same template needs to be followed by the other states also. As regards Indian industry is concerned, I think the government has done a lot recently. And that's what the Prime Minister himself is referring to. We are the ones who are now pushing reforms. If you see in the economic survey, almost every para talks of reform. And that's what the government wants. That's what the industry wants. And I think the labor code, see, it was stuck for so many years. I was very happy to see that now at least the labor codes are being implemented. In my mind, it's a great step. These are the type of steps, small steps, which you ask me if you really put them together, will really bring investor confidence back. The
Okay.
GST rationalization, great step. The
Okay.
fact that now the people were worried, what is going to happen with these trade wars? Today, two big economies coming together, India and Europe, have given a very positive market contribution, if you ask me honestly. A lot of people who are sitting on the fence today think India is the place to manufacture. I see a lot of people looking at collaborations. I'm sitting here today in Dubai, which is the international hub for food. What I see is people want to invest in India, and not only say Indians wanting to invest for Europe, Europeans wanting to invest for Europe into India. That is the type of investments I definitely see. I will expect this budget to really now do what probably the last 4-5 budgets have done, but not done as incrementally, to really fast track the reform process in a major way, and to ensure that there is what I call not only ease of doing business, ease of paying tax also, and ease of litigation also. So these are the two very important things which are required for business to flourish.
Okay.
Having said that, there are two other things which the economics talks.
Right.
Yes,
so
please go ahead.
Essentially, fast track the reform process. We need clarity as far as investors are concerned. Some very important points you've made. And I want to go across to Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee once again. Now, the Eco Survey also mentioned that agriculture and services sector. Now, these two are the biggest contributors to our GDP. Manufacturing is not among key drivers of growth. Why is that the case? Because even the Prime Minister spoke about manufacturers, specifically how they should be focusing on quality. EU-India FTA is an opportunity for them to focus on quality.
I think you have brought up a very, very important point. Manufacturing must grow from the teens to the mid-20s. Something that we have been focusing on. There has been a lot which has been, of course, done with regards to, the reforms, changes that were required in terms of ease of doing business, cost of doing business. We are seeing even the cost of capital having come down. With these trade agreements, which is throwing us open to competitiveness, which was so very, very critical. And I think as we go forward, we will have to, for manufacturing to grow, it has to be competitive. And as manufacturing grows, we will need to see much more of depth coming in terms of when they imbibe, say, for instance, with the EU, where they are experts on smart manufacturing, on going ahead in terms of a greater degree in terms of technology of manufacturing. So services exports help, but manufacturing is going to be indispensable, is what the economic survey also focuses on. And the way we will see it is the growth of the MSME sector, which is going to be very critical. Now, what we require there is a little bit what we look forward from the budget is a little bit of patient capital coming into the mid-sized companies, the middle that we call about. If we really look at some of them, that happening, and we can reduce the cost of capital and the speed up delivery. I think this is going to be very, very critical as we move forward. And we are also looking at another intervention in the budget, which is the India Development and the Strategic Fund, where we can really look at more of infrastructure growth, and where we are looking at more of developmental sort of focus in that strategic fund, and also even looking at acquiring foreign assets. The reason why I'm saying this and linking it up to manufacturing, as you are talking about, is because all of this is extremely important. And as we look at green transition, say, for instance, for our manufacturing to be competitive in the world, a fund for green transition, all of that is going to be equally important as we go along with what we talked about, ease and cost of doing business. Right. And lastly, for the smaller companies, sort of a fund or a participation in terms of equity is going to be very, very critical, so that the availability of risk capital for the small and mid-sized companies in the long term becomes possible. And that that would lead to a stronger depth in our manufacturing.
Okay. Mr. Mukundan, now as Mr. Banerjee mentioned that, we really need to now ensure that manufacturing moves from teens to at least mid-20s. Why has it not really happened so far? Because I think what the Prime Minister also tried to say today was that we have now, got you FTAs, free trade agreements with big markets and, big countries. But now it's upon the industry here in India to make the most of this big opportunity.
Yeah, so let me just highlight 2 points. Going back to your previous question, just the kind of interest we are seeing from foreign conglomerates in terms of the big delegations visiting, the boards, their entire boards visiting. I have never seen this before. Even yesterday, I was with a big German board which is visiting India, seeing India for the first time. So I think on the foreign direct investment, all the work we've done in the last 1 year or 18 months or so is going to bear fruit. These are initial visits, but I think they're going to turn into projects. So that's one big positive thing which I'm seeing on the ground. The second piece, of course, is what Chandrajit has already highlighted. This MSME is a big sector within manufacturing because it's part of a big value chain for bigger companies. We need a very, very vibrant MSME. And today it contributes almost 49% of our exports and also close to 35% of manufacturing. So there, I think the focus is on making sure they got access to better credit. Also, their regulatory burden comes down. I think those are the two broad areas. But then I think the key issue about us is not to win in every sector, but to know which sectors are winnable, which sectors is the tailwind very high. And I think that's what PLI is focusing. In addition to that, which sectors present the risk? Now, if you'll come first, let me address the sectors which present the risk. It's critical minerals and part of becoming supply chain where we have high import dependency. I think government is focused on those two is where we need to set up capacities here. In addition to that, I think we need to continue to focus where we've been winning. For example, on electronics. I think electronics, while we are become the second largest mobile manufacturer, I think the next stage for us is to get put investments in the component area, not just assemble them, but also start making the components ourselves. And that's the focus I think the PLI schemes would bring in going forward.
Right.
And it's clearly the direction economic survey is also alluding to. And lastly, I think what impacts everybody, which brings the cost of doing business down, is the first what I alluded to in terms of the factor cost, whether it be power, whether it be logistics. On power, I think we need to do a large-scale reform in terms of the discoms. I think that will unlock a lot of value. That will unlock and also bring down the cost of power. And logistics, a lot has been done, but I think we need to do more in terms of making sure the railroad ratio shifts more towards railways.
Okay.
Railways become the engine of our goods transport, and also they have a lower carbon footprint. They also help us in achieving our Paris goals which we have set for ourselves.
Right. Okay. One last question, Mr. Khambata. Now, as far as the issue of taxation is concerned, are you expecting any big announcements? Do you think the government still has some fiscal space to do that, given the kind of relief taxpayers got last year? Then we had the GST next gen reforms also.
See, one thing is clear from the GST reforms. Taxes were reduced, but the growth is up. What GST rationalization has proved is that if you rationalize tax, it will spur growth, it will get more tax collection also. So I think the whole stand of the government and everybody else is vindicated. Now, I somehow believe the same template can be followed in other indirect taxes also. For example, custom duties. There are so many tiers. I'm not saying reduce duties, but you at least simplify the tiers. Reduce the litigation unnecessary. Some person is saying this, some person is saying that. Classification disputes are over. And so forget tax. Nobody says reduce tax. Let it be clear where dispute is over. So I somehow believe tax rationalization in the indirect, the custom duty space is something which I think is required. Similarly, something like accelerated depreciation to really help industry put more money into capital where it is required. So some tax credits required for extra investment being brought in. We need to really support manufacturing, support new technology, support adoption of AI by smaller companies, support all this, especially for MSMEs, I would say, require these type of things. We need some more reforms to the SEZ in particular. Okay. The government has done a lot of things in the past, but I think more needs to be done on that space. So this is definitely something which I expect going forward. I also expect that the whole digitization process, and I think we have been championing this in CII, that how to make tax simpler by ensuring everything is virtual or digital, virtual hearings, everything is online. So I do expect something to happen on that. And IDR, I definitely mentioned, I expect. I also expect an amnesty scheme in indirect taxes. I think the amnesty schemes have worked wonderfully. They unlock unnecessary, what I call the taxes and litigation. So I definitely expect an amnesty scheme also to come.
Okay. Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, one thing that you would want the Finance Minister to announce on 1st of February, and one thing in your opinion she should completely stay away from, given that it's also an election year this time.
I think, I would think that we should continue. I would really strongly urge that we continue to be on the strong path of public capex. The government has really been very, very supportive on it, and that will crowd in investment. A 12% odd increase in the public capex is something that I would really look at coming up. And I would think that anything directed to the poor and to the lower sections of the income levels are very important, but there should not be leakages. So refrain from leakages, but be targeted when you are giving subsidies is what I would really look at.
And lastly, Mr. Mukundan, what is going to be your message to the Finance Minister before she presents the budget?
I firstly want to fully agree with what Chandrajit said in terms of making sure the budget does support the needy. I think that's very, very critical for all of us, because we still are an economy where there's a large part of our population which needs the continued support. So I think extending support to them is critical. Secondly, in addition to infrastructure spending, I would continue to urge that we should look at the ease of doing business and the factor cost. These are the two big things the industry is looking at. In terms of labor reform, already the labor code which has come into effect, I think a lot has been done. Last budget, there was a lot of focus on skilling. There's so the two areas which have been addressed, but I think what we need to continue to focus on the two factors which investors look for, which is there's continuity, there is stability, and at the same time, the ease of doing business keeps improving.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you very much, all of you gentlemen, for joining us here on the special budget roundtable.